Hi, everyone, and welcome to the course of world history. I am Mr. Samuelson, and today we are looking at Justinian's rule, another lesson in the Byzantine Empire, this time focusing on the lasting impacts of Emperor Justinian on his empire. Starting with, this is really a peak moment for the Byzantine Empire. This is where they are doing their best. And it is early in the empire, as discussed before. It is kind of a long, slow decline. But the empire was at its strongest during his reign from 527 to 565 CE. So he had a long reign here. Okay, he held power almost 40 years. And in 40 years, with that kind of stability, you can do a lot of great things. Now, Justinian's main goal, the main thing that he wanted to accomplish, was to reconquer the Western Roman Empire. He is closed, but his most lasting impacts wind up being in other areas. But let's talk about that reconquest first. Under Justinian's direction, Byzantine generals, Belisarius and some others, first reconquered North Africa, extending along the Mediterranean Sea. And then they move into Sicily and Italy and reconquer the heart of the old Western Roman Empire. Then they move into southern Spain and start to cut into the kingdom of the Visigoths. By his death in 565, most of the old Roman Empire was under his control. The Franks were still doing okay. The Ostrogoths were doing okay. Visigoths were there. But the Mediterranean Sea is again kind of looking like a Roman lake. Now, Justinian and religion. Justinian was a champion of Orthodox Christianity, but he was an interesting champion of Orthodox Christianity in the sense that he really did want to have a say in the religion. He wasn't going to leave things just up to the patriarchs. He wanted to have some controlling say over the religion itself. And during his reign, he developed kind of this particular view of Orthodox Christianity and did not want other interpretations of it to really have a lot of pull, a lot of influence, or to grow and spread throughout the empire. This did create tension, and there were a number of flare-ups internally for him. And it also included a lot of conflict with the popes in Rome, who for quite some time had been developing their own separate view of Christianity that was separate from Orthodox. Another influence of Justinian is the architecture. He was a prolific builder and rebuilt and expanded much of Constantinople. He wanted to make this city really look and feel like one of the great capitals in the world, and accomplishes that goal by and large during his lifetime. The crowning achievement was the Hagia Sophia, this Orthodox church in Constantinople. It was one of his great building projects. It was at that time the world's greatest church. And today it still stands. However, it has been converted into an Islamic mosque after this city was conquered and taken over by the Ottoman Empire. This is the inside of the Hagia Sophia today to give you some sense of scale. Here are the people, and this is that central dome. So it is quite a large dome. But again, of course, it is a mosque today, so it is decorated in that fashion with Islamic symbols rather than Orthodox Christian ones. All right, the new law code. This is one of the big ones that Justinian accomplishes. It is his most lasting contribution, really still impacting the world to this day. It was his formation of this new code. Now, Roman laws over the centuries had become fairly disorganized, and there was no central law code that could still be found. So judges, when trying to apply laws to certain situations, often got confused, sometimes very contradictory legal precedents handed down to them. Some things that just conflicted outright, some things that were just confusing. They're not sure how it should apply because it was written 800 years ago. And Justinian really wanted to fix this problem, to simplify the law, to make sure that everything was more just within his empire. And so, even prior to becoming emperor, Justinian had started to work on this law code. He gathered together all these known sources of Roman law, worked out the contradictions, worked through some of the clarifications, updated it where it needed to be, and created this unified law code. The Justinian Code was in fact so well written and so well organized that it remained the basis for law codes, not just in the Byzantine Empire, but neighbors adopted aspects of this code as well. And in some nations today, they still root their legal system in the works of Justinian way back in the 6th century CE. So what is his legacy? What has been left behind by this great emperor? Well, he had all these military conquests. And as we saw earlier, he really expanded his empire, but he also drained the treasury of the Byzantines. The conquests were done, but they were expensive, and there was no money left over to maintain and control over these conquests. And so slowly, in the years following his death and then crawling into the centuries, the Byzantine Empire had to contract as they encountered the same problems that the Romans under Constantine had, and Diocletian, the sheer scale of the empire being so big that it couldn't be managed from a single place. So the empire retreats to the point where by 1000, it really is just a shadow of what it had once controlled. His more lasting legacies, then, were not the military conquests. His lasting legacies were the strengthening of the Orthodox faith and the clarifying of what was Orthodox, his building improvements in Constantinople, and most importantly and most lastingly, the Justinian Code, his legal reforms. But that's not all. We would be completely remiss if we talked about Justinian and we never talked about Empress Theodora. During the medieval world, in medieval times, it was very uncommon for women to rise to levels of incredible power and influence. And the Empress Theodora was one who did. She was, during her life, one of the most powerful women in the world. Probably during her life, the most powerful woman in the world. And she came from a fairly humble background. When she was younger, she was an actress, which is a very low position within Byzantine society. We're not talking like, Angelina Jolie or big Hollywood actress, lots of fame and all that. No. Being an actor or an actress in Byzantine world was seen as a very low position in life. And that is where Theodora had come to the attention of Justinian. But Justinian was entranced by her. First by her looks and her beauty, and then by her personality and her intelligence. And she really got a hold of him and his imagination, and he fell deeply in love, so much so that laws were changed to allow for their marriage. And Theodora really seized this power. She was bright, she was ambitious, she saw the world for what it was, and was able to influence Justinian in some major ways. And to this day, historians look back and they will give Theodora credit for a lot of what happened. And people who don't like Justinian will give Theodora a lot of blame. But in either ways, you're recognizing and acknowledging the incredible influence that the Empress Theodora had in the Byzantine and medieval world. Theodora, should know a thing or two about her. All right, that's all for today. I do hope that you learned something. I'll see you next time. Farewell.